My name is Bev M, and my husband Dale and daughter Addison and I have been coming to Jericho for quite a long time. I think it was just after the first anniversary back in RE Mountain when we first attended. So it's our church home and our community. I work in a inner city secondary school near the Delta border in the Surrey School District. And so when COVID started, we were on spring break. The COVID lockdown started. We worked from home for a few months and went back a little bit at the end of June. I think September startup for the schools, in Surrey at least, were quite confusing for the parents and sometimes for students. Because of health and safety protocols, they were put into cohorts. Because our school and the demographic or the community, more and more we had COVID notifications. With that, recommendations for second layer masks, then third layer masks. As we were getting COVID notifications within our school of individuals that had COVID, and it placed us into the top 3 schools in Surrey, highest notifications. So we were a no-go school for deliveries. Deliveries were dropped at the door, and staff were very stressed.
So what's it been like to grieve during COVID?
I lost my mom. She didn't have COVID, but she fell and she was placed in the hospital. And with all the safety, health protocols, things were very different than if it hadn't been COVID. We had to make a fast decision. She couldn't stay in the hospital, and she was in hospice for a few months, the last few months of her life. And to visit her, we had to wear masks. It was immediate family only. And I think most of the visits that we had as immediate family were alone so that we could maximize her visits. So it was a very lonely and sad time to be alone with a loved one who is passing away.
So what was the process of grieving during COVID like for you?
In a word, I think lonely. I think working. I went back to work quite soon after her funeral because I took time before to be with her. And the school setting was almost chaotic with the startup after COVID was still a health and safety issue. Trying to maintain a upbeat or at least positive outlook and attitude with a working situation, and really digging deep into my faith to feel at peace. But it was draining and fatiguing.
What's anchored you during this season?
I think knowing people that reached out and checked in on us. FaceTime, thank goodness for FaceTime. Thankful for our church community and friends. Our family in California couldn't cross the border, so lots of texts, lots of prayers, being able to send out those prayer requests. And I think a lot of prayer.
What's a lasting memory of your mom that stays with you from this past season?
We all go through really hard times, whether it's now or later or in the past. My mom was always grateful. She was very strong, even though she could be very fearful. So I think that's something I can learn to be. And I know where my help comes from. It comes from the Lord. In 1 Peter 1, I think it says, "The grass withers away, but the love of the Lord endures." Everyone has been affected by COVID. Nothing's the same. Nothing was the same, and we had to learn to live with those differences. On top of that, my life will never be the same. I've lost my mom, grandma, for my daughter, all the celebrations. Not as many people there. A sense of who we rely on comes to the forefront.
What would you like to say to your church family?
I want to say thank you. Very grateful for our friends at Jericho that reached out to us when they heard news of Mom's decline. Calls and texts and cards. Thank you to Brad for visiting. Thankfully, you could visit and sing with Mom. And you were a real source of strength for us and for me. Sometimes those texts and calls were the bright spot in the day.